Hey guys, I hope I'm live. This computer's telling me that I'm live, so we're going to go for it. It is 7 o'clock Friday evening on September 15th. I hope you are well. And I am so excited to talk about this topic with you today because it is one of the most difficult things for me to get. It was one of the most difficult things for me to get as a new market gardener was to understand timing for my fall plantings. So, to give you a little bit of background, I grew up in Western North Carolina. I moved back here 3 years ago with my family, and I have built slowly over the last 3 years a half-acre market garden that is supporting a farm stand and an online farm store. So before when the before when um, I didn't get fall planting right, it didn't really matter because I wasn't messing up anything but myself, right? Like, so if I didn't get my Brussels sprouts in the ground early enough, I wasn't hurting anyone but my family, or maybe I had something else planned. Maybe the cabbages were on time, but the kale wasn't. Like, it wasn't a huge deal. But since last year, I started this market garden and the farm store, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, I can't mess this up. I've got to figure out my fall planting timing. And there are some reasons why your fall planting timing is so crucial and why it gets so messed up. It's because there are several things that are going on in the garden over time that are slowing down and making it more difficult to grow things. And they're happening at variable rates that you can't control. So, the first one we all know is that your day length or your sunlight length changes. It gets shorter and shorter and shorter as we go closer and closer to winter. So, the longest day of the year is in June, shortest day of the year is in December when it comes to sunlight hours. And so, we're slowly reducing and reducing and reducing, and our temperatures are getting colder. Now, those things are related, obviously, but those are two different things happening, and they happen at rates that we can't predict how cold our September will be, right? Because we all know we've had Indian summers. Sometimes September is not cold by any stretch of the imagination. Like right now, we're starting to have our typical some September weather, but before we hadn't had that before. Hey, Kyle, how's it going? Good to see you. Um, so yeah, we haven't necessarily had a cold or a cool September. So you have all these variables going on, and it's difficult to time when to plant things. But I learned about two pieces of information that I'm going to share with you now. I want to spit it out, get it out, so you guys can think about it. And I've got a bunch of seeds next to me, and we're going to talk about what I'm planting or what I've already planted for the fall garden. So you might get some inspiration from it. I wish I had done this earlier in the year. I should have done it about a month ago because for most of you, some of this information might be coming too late. But if you're interested in growing leafy greens or lettuces or things that have a short day to maturity and they don't need a lot of sunlight, you'll still be okay. Even if you're in zones 5, 6, you're still going to be okay, especially with some season extension, which we can talk about if you've got questions about that. So these are the two things that I needed to get if I was going to start selling vegetables from my garden that used to just be a hobby garden out for other folks. First thing, if I'm planting anything after August 15th, I add 20% to the days to maturity. If I'm planting after August 15th, I add 20% to my total days to maturity. What does that look like? Okay, so if my Brussels sprouts have a days to maturity of 90 days, at best, in the best case scenario, in their favorite conditions, it takes them 90 days to mature. If I'm planting them after like August 15th, I'm adding 18 days to that, which is going to give me 108 days total days to maturity. So I'm accounting for the smaller window of sunlight every day, and I'm accounting for that lower temperature that we're moving toward as we get closer to winter. Okay. Now, Elliot Coleman, in his Winter Growers Handbook, which I highly recommend you get, he goes into great detail about this. And there are lots of different multivariable charts that he'll show you and how to determine how many days to add. But I needed a quick and dirty rule for myself. And that quick and dirty rule was 20%. So if 20% is too many days, if I'm giving myself too much time, that's a bonus because my temperatures are getting lower anyway. So that's good for me, right? Like I'm not in danger of anything bolting because I'm not moving into hotter temperatures. So I give myself 20%. I add that on, and that gives me a padding to help me know, okay, fall is cooler. There's less sunlight. This is what you have to work with. Now, I want my crops. That tells me what to grow. Okay, that's the first part of my promise to you. I told you I'd tell you what to grow and when to grow it. So you're going to learn what to grow by taking your favorite yummies that love this temperature this time of year, and you're going to add 20% because everything is getting cooler and shorter in day length. All right. So that means that you're going to ask your favorite device how many days you have um, until a certain time. You're going to know how many days you have to work with. So let's say your days to maturity, it really does not, it's not as impacted by your last frost date as you might think. So don't worry about your last frost date or your first frost date, I mean. So these items are things that you're going to grow in the fall, like Brussels sprouts or carrots or lettuce. A freeze doesn't kill them. The freeze is going to kill your summer crops, like your peppers and tomatoes that you're still enjoying right now, that you are getting your last bits from. That's a killing frost or killing freeze, and that's going to happen. But don't worry about that when we're talking about fall crops. The date you need to think about when we're thinking about fall crops is what Elliot Coleman refers to as your Persephone dates. Now, if you dust off your mythology and you go back to thinking about who Persephone was, she was the goddess of growing things. Hades wanted to take her down below, and as a protest, she said, "Fine, I'll go. But while I'm gone, things will die off up there just so that everyone remembers how fantastic I am and how great it is to grow things." Those Persephone days are days of the year when you have 10 hours of sunlight or less. So 10 hours of sunlight or less is the beginning of your Persephone day period. And so here where I am in North Carolina, my Persephone days start November 28th. Okay, November 28th is the day when my day length or my sunlight length dips below 10 hours. It's incredibly difficult for things to grow or add any growth to them if they don't already have it under 10 hours of grow length or of sunlight. So you want everything that you've planted, right, in this fall period, you want that stuff to be mature by November 28th. That's my Persephone date. Now, my Persephone dates where I am, that time period of less than 10 hours of sunlight goes until like January 10th for me. It's a pretty short period for me, I have to say. Pretty blessed when it comes to that. So from November 28th to January 10th, I've got everything covered in the garden. We've battened down the hatches. We're snuggly. We're warm. So we're selling for the farm stand. We are harvesting for the farm stand, but we're not expecting anything to grow, right? Because we're just not expecting anything to grow during that period because it has slowed to a halt. So if I can get my crops to a mature state by November 28th, I am good to go. Now, notice I didn't say my first frost. I don't have to have everything mature by my first frost because my first frost here can be as early as November 5th. Okay. These crops, they can handle a bit of a frost. As a matter of fact, your fall crops actually really like a bit of a frost. So the carrots get sweeter, the kale gets better. And it's because, you didn't come here for this, but it's because in that cooler, cold period, the plant, in an attempt to keep the liquids from freezing, will turn the starches into sugars. It's like an antifreeze for the plant. It's in its efforts to, hey, wait a minute, we don't want to freeze. We're trying not to freeze. Let's turn some of the starch into sugar. And we get the benefit of those sweeter vegetables. So if you don't like kale and you've had it in the summer, try it in the fall and winter. Your lettuces get better. Everything just gets sweeter with that little nip of frost. Okay. So notice I wasn't worried about my first frost date at all when it comes to growing my fall vegetables. I'm worried about, do I have everything to its date? Or is it mature by the time my sunlight length gets below 10 hours? And if it is, then I'm good to go. If it's not, I can expect it to creep a little bit. Like it will kind of grow a little bit, especially if I have things under season extension, like a low tunnel. I might have quick hoops. I might have some conduit stretched in. I might have some rebar on either side of my bed with some conduit between it. And then I might have some greenhouse plastic over that to kind of function as a small greenhouse type situation. Those plants um, will absolutely taste better, and they'll just hang out until that Persephone period is over and your January 10th comes and goes, or whatever your day length is. You'll have to check that out for yourself, but it holds true for everybody. Kyle, yep, absolutely. The frost, grandma was right, waiting about till the frost to pick her greens, because that is the attempt of the plant to keep itself from freezing. I will also say that for your fall crops, it's okay if your plants freeze. It's really okay if kale freezes. You absolutely now you don't want to harvest it while it's frozen, but you can have your kale, your greens, your mustard greens, your collard greens, all of it. You can have it under season extension, which I'm saying under plastic, and it could freeze solid. And then whenever that morning sun hits it inside that greenhouse that you have, you've got that solar heating. And then once that plant basically thaws out, you can harvest it and it's fine. I've had kale. Well, I had kale survive 5 degrees Fahrenheit without any cover at all. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, but it did work. So those are the things you can think about. Those are the two things. So I'm going to recap for you. You know what to plant because you know the number of days you'll need, and you'll know when to plant it because you know what your Persephone date, when your Persephone period starts. Okay. And so therefore, let's say, I asked my little device here. I don't want to say her name because she'll like open up or wake up, but I think I have about 75 days until my Persephone period or whatnot. So there's a lot of stuff I can still plant because I have several days until November 28th. So I have all I'm going to do here. Let's see. I've got a bunch of seeds here. I have seeds from, okay, for example, I have these Napoli carrots from Territorial Seed. They have 55 days to maturity. So I'm going to add 20% to that. So I'm going to add, let's just say I'll add 12 days to it to kind of give myself a little extra time. So that's 67 days. I have 67 days because I know I have over 70. So I can go ahead and plant these, and I have every right to expect that these will grow to maturity. And it's September 15th. So I've got plenty of time for that. Let's see right here, 21 days. This is like a braising baby greens mix. These little kales. What else is in here? Mustard greens, all kinds of yummy stuff to cook up, like boil up with greens and some fat back or whatever. I've got lots of time for that. I've got 80 days for this Chinese pink celery. I don't have enough time for this to get to maturity. Now I could grow this, I could put it out and get it as far as it will go, but I can't tell my customers. I'm not going to tell my customers that I'll have this for fall or winter because I likely won't. I probably will have it early spring. Now notice I'm not pulling any of this out of the garden if it's not quite to its maturity point. I'm just going to keep it under the cover. I might harvest it a little early for my own eating, but I'm going to leave it in the garden because as soon as that Persephone period's over and my day length gets longer, first couple of weeks of February, a lot of this stuff is going to be ready to pick, right? Because it's like an engine that starts chugging up or picking up again as soon as that day length gets longer. Or I keep saying day length. Obviously, the day is all the same length, but it's the sunlight length. So that is how you can think about the fall garden. And that's how I have simplified all the different things going on with it that made it difficult for me, because I'd be like, it's middle of July. What do I plant now? When do I plant it? Because you don't want to plant it too soon. Most of your fall goodies don't like the sun, and they certainly don't like the temperatures that we have in August, right? Like they'll bolt. Like I have some seedlings that I'm still going to be putting out this weekend. And some of my arugulas already started bolting. It was like, see you later. It's too hot for me. I don't like this. So I'm just not going to be able to sell that. Well, some of them I will, some of them I won't. But if you're growing for your own garden and you are flexible with what you're growing and you've got time to investigate, I would absolutely do it. Keep a journal for yourself and just kind of keep notes. I know it's a nerdy thing to recommend, but it's really true. If you plant something, write down the day you plant it, write down if you think that was too early or too late and what you would do the next year, because I'll tell you, the years go by so fast and it's the next year all over again. So I am so happy that you guys have visited and joined me today for this little live. I wanted to hop on here and let you know because I've been having some really good results with the things I've planted out. I've had my Brussels sprouts out for a while. I've had collard greens out for a while. Um, and it's worked out really well. And I've used this plan. So number one, add 20% to your needed days to maturity if you're planting after August 15th, right? And then know the day when your day length gets less than 10 hours of sunlight. When you get less than 10 hours of sunlight, that's the day you need to make sure everything's mature if you want it to be mature. If you want to eat it for fall as a mature plant, figure out what that is. Those are your Persephone days. And so my Persephone period here is from November 28th to June 10th. June 10th, that's a long time. No, November 28th through January 10th. The further north you go, I used to live in the Detroit area, and their Persephone period is quite a bit longer. It's about a month longer. So they have to sit tight for a whole month longer than we do here. And so you can kind of tell what you're able to grow, when you should start it. But yeah, that's the deal. I wanted to hop on here and let you guys know about it. In summary, you're still good to plant. If you want to harvest collard greens as like small baby collard greens, you could still sow those. You can sow mustard greens. You can still sow lettuces, especially for cut and come again salads for pretty much anywhere in the United States, especially if you're willing to have some season extension to the tune of like some low row covers. If you've got some greenhouse plastic, a 6 mil greenhouse plastic is ideal for that. But yeah, just I hope you can use this. I hope you're enjoying it, and I hope that you think about it. If you've got any questions, pop them down below in this video, because when this video is over, I'll keep it up, and so you'll still have access to it. But yeah, ask me if you have any questions at all. There's a lot of stuff you can still grow, and I want you to have fun this weekend, be safe, whatever you're doing, and enjoy that fall garden. And yeah, thanks so much. You guys take care. Thank you, Kyle. I would love to hook up with you guys soon. You're awesome. Miss you so much, you guys. Yeah, you all have a great, great weekend. Okay. Bye for now.